good evening. Who here has ever played a video game? Whack up your hand if you've played a video game.
Yeah, I'm not playing.
Whoever has done something violent in a video game? That's pretty much everybody who put their hand up before. So this is exactly what our project decided to engage with the idea of violence in video games. What does that mean for the player, and what does that mean for the form itself? So we decided to make a game about choices. This is our team here. This is all of the co-creators. And it's a really talented bunch of people. I hadn't met any of them before, hadn't done any of the work before, so it's kind of the true spirit of a hack when we came together on Saturday. Everything was plotted out on that Saturday, and that was when we started really making it work. So, to explain why we made this game, I have to take you back to May 2012, when I received some training from the International Federation of Red Cross, which is about, it's a program called Youth as Agents of Behavioural Change. And what that program does is try and promote behavioural change in individuals by kind of tricking them. So you take a workshop that feels like a game in a physical space, you have everyone together, you play this game. So, for instance, you might pair people up and say, okay, you're a prisoner, you're a guard, you need to get out of the cell, and just let them go. They could choose to be violent, or they could choose to try and negotiate. You just let them do their thing. And then you use reflection to try and get them to think about, well, why did you make those choices? What does that actually mean when this isn't a game, or when you're actually in a situation where you want something that they don't give you? And that training was really influential for me personally. Came back to Australia and went, okay, great, let's roll this out. Did some entrepreneurship for about 2 years trying to get support in Red Cross, and they were all like, that's a great idea! How do we possibly roll it out when there's one person in Australia trained in it? I don't know. So thinking, went, well, what if we actually capitalised on digital media? What if we didn't have to just use this person-to-person playing games in a room altogether? Because that is sort of very, very resource consumptive. There's lots of other ways that we can do this. So what if we took a creative approach and kind of extrapolated that kind of workshop? How do you then do that when you don't know how to code, aren't very good at art, and can't write music? Thinking, eventually this came up. So started pitching this to people at the information night, and Marcus, who wrote our code, was the first one to go, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I've never written a game before, I'll give it a go. And then we found Gerard, who was like, yeah, I was going to do my own thing. This sounds kind of interesting, let's give it a go. Brian said, again, this sounds kind of interesting, let me do some music for you guys, which is awesome. And then Mick was instrumental in editing, really refining the script down. So very collaborative team, really, really appreciative. What we're doing with the game is trying to estrange people. So you go into the game and you sort of think, oh well, this is just like every other game I've played. You know, you're in a cell, you start off and you're kind of like, all right, yeah. As you go through, the very first thing you have to do is make a choice. That choice then affects the branch that you take for every other part of the game. The game is not the same if you take a different choice in that very first obstacle. And you're progressively going through the game, making choices, and that then affects how the game reacts back to you. So the whole concept for the game is what happens if when you're violent to a game, the game is violent back to you, just as a human being would be. So I'm going to try and do a walkthrough. So then this is what it looks like when you very first walk in. And then this is you making your first choice. You can choose to use the rock, you can choose to use the chain, you can choose to use the log picks. So you can choose to be violent towards your environment, or you can choose to be more clever, more sneaky, using your lock picks to make a silent choice. If you do that, the guard's asleep. You're then faced with another choice. Do you kill the guard, or do you just sneak past him? And that then again filters through to the rest of the game. That then flows through into the next scene where if you haven't killed the guard, which would of course create a ruckus, then you find a feast scene, this music will be playing. If you have killed the guard, causing a ruckus, there are people waiting for you. The music's much further down. And yeah, so the game then continues from there, throwing more violence back at you the more violent you are already.
Thanks very much. We're going to have to